Hey you guys, what is up? This is Chess Novice with another beautiful chess game played between Yaroslav Zherebukh and Hikaru Nakamura in the US Championship 2017 round number 10. To give you a bit of a background, Hikaru Nakamura had just lost the previous game against Alexander Onishchuk where he had a great position and that practically threw him out of the competition in contention for the title. So he's desperately looking for a win in this game. So let's see how this game panned out. Yaroslav started with the move pawn to e4 and Nakamura replied with c6 going into the Caro-Kann defense, and both players went into the main line with d4, d5, knight to c3, d takes e4, knight takes e4, bishop to f4, knight g3 and bishop g6. So this is all quite standard. And here Yaroslav opted for the slower variation with the move knight to h3 with the simple idea of going to f4 and attacking the bishop on g6. Nakamura continued with simple development with knight to f6. Yaroslav jumped into the f4 square attacking the bishop, although this is a slight violation of the principle where you don't want to move the same piece twice in the opening. Here White argues that getting the bishop would be an advantage and he's not going to capture just yet, guys, so it's okay. Nakamura played the move knight b to d7 with the idea that he wants to push the pawn to e5, but he would not want to exchange the queens directly. But if in case White wants to exchange, his rook is ready to capture. But anyways, this is all standard theory. White plays bishop to c4 attacking the f7 pawn, and in a way saying you don't really want to play e5, do you? Nakamura plays queen to c7, White castles kingside. Nakamura played the move e6, and here after a 40-minute think, Yaroslav decided to play the move c2 c3. But why did he spend 40 minutes for such a simple move? Well, he was also trying to calculate the move bishop takes e6. Now let's see what happens there. If bishop takes e6, sacrificing a whole piece, f takes e6, knight takes e6. Knight is attacking the queen, alright, so the queen has to move somewhere which is still protecting the c7 square. So let's say queen to c8, which is the best move. White can simply go queen to e2, threatening a discovered check to the king, and the position becomes very tricky for black to play. Also, it's very hard to castle anytime soon, so the black king is kind of stuck in the center. Although right away there are no winning discovered checks. For example, if knight goes to b6, knight takes g7 check, king goes to f7, and now knight cannot return to the same square e6 because it's now guarded twice by the queen and the king. So knight has to go to h5, and after knight takes h5, knight takes h5 and queen f5 attacking the knight twice, the knight has to go back to g3 and then the queen recaptures on c2 with a very favorable position here for black. And despite there being a queen check to f3, the king can drop back. So this position is very complicated, as you can see, and even a single mistake from either side can tip the scales in their favor. So Yaroslav decided to simply play a solid move with c2 c3. Nakamura here decided to go bishop to d6, and now the sacrifice does not work anymore because now if you go bishop takes, black takes first with bishop takes f4, and now White just has to take another pawn, otherwise he has nothing to show for it. King takes f7 and black is much better here. So Yaroslav played the normal theory, that is queen to f3. Nakamura pushed c5, and after d takes c5, bishop takes c5, Yaroslav played the move bishop to b3. Otherwise bishop can take the f2 pawn and the queen is having an attack on the bishop which would be on pre. So Yaroslav protected the bishop, and now Nakamura castled queenside, post which here is the first inaccuracy that was made by Yaroslav. So Yaroslav brought the knight here in order to attack the bishop, but right now after Nakamura castled queenside, it is very dangerous because after knight takes g6 and h takes c6, look at this, the rook and the queen are both attacking the h2 pawn with only the knight in between, and it is a really good position for black. And this is what happened in the game. So let's see how things proceeded from here. After that previous inaccuracy, another inaccuracy was played with bishop to f4, which just gives black extra tempi with move e5. And after bishop dropping back to e3, black can simply play the move e4, and that pawn is a monster. So well, what were the other propositions here after pawn to e5? If he goes bishop to g5, then you again have e4, after which if you move the queen anywhere, for example e2, you have rook takes h2, king takes h2, rook h8 check, king g1, and then queen takes g3, which cannot be captured because of the bishop. And this is good game, lights out. And here it may look like, okay, you cannot capture, of course, because then that just leads to queen mate. So what do? Should you go back with the queen? A better move here would have been queen to f4, which looks kind of dangerous because after the move bishop to d6, you again have to go queen to g5, and a move here suggested by Nakamura was rook to h5, knight takes, bishop h2 check, king h1, rook h8, and it already looks really dangerous for white. We can still play on with the move g4, but it looks really dangerous. Also, after queen to g5, black could play something like knight to h7, forcing the queen to move to h4, after which black can play f4, and it looks like a really dangerous position because suddenly you have g5 in the cards trapping the queen, and also there is this discovery on the same file against the rook, so the position looks really dangerous. Let's see what happens. Yaroslav played the move queen e2, and then after bishop takes and queen takes, I'll give you 5 seconds to guess the move here. So did you find the move that was played by Nakamura? Well, if you find the move rook takes h2, you are correct, bang on. That's not a very hard tactic to see, is it? But I guess Yaroslav completely missed it, because after king takes, knight comes to g4, and oops, this is really embarrassing to have your queen and your king forked like that, right? So that is why Yaroslav could not capture the rook. It is immune, and Yaroslav just moved his own rook to d1, making some room for the king to escape. Nakamura played the move rook d to h8, and now this file has become monstrous for white. Here, there were very few moves that could save the game, but white should have tried to capture the knight, and after knight recaptures, to go rook d1. After knight moves, for example, to b6, then white can take the pawn on e4. But white instead played the horrific move queen takes a7, and here another killing blow was punched in by Hikaru Nakamura. Can you guess the move if I give you 5 more seconds? Well, the move is pawn to e3. That is right. And you may think, hey, what is the point of that? The queen just moved from there, so when you move the pawn to e3, can I just not capture it? Well, the answer is no, because then knight now comes to g4, and if the queen moves anywhere because the queen is attacked, let's say queen to f3, then the move is rook to h1 check. Wow, sacrificing a whole rook, and after knight takes, sacrifice another rook with rook takes h1 check, and then when king takes, it is queen to h2 mate. Wow, that is powerful, right? So that is why in this position Yaroslav resigned, moving Nakamura up to 5.5, 1 point behind the leaders, but it is still highly unlikely that the 3 leaders, Onishuk, Wesley So and War Akobian, will all lose their games in the final round. But still, this was a beautiful game nevertheless. And just to think, what could white have done in such a position where black played the move e3? Instead of capturing the pawn, he could still have fought with queen to a8 check, and after knight intercepts, then going rook to d4 with the simple idea of moving rook to c4, pinning the queen. So in order to stop that, black has to play rook to h4. After pawn moves to f4, then rook takes f4 and rook a d1, rook f to h4. And although losing, the game is still slightly complicated. So that's it for this time, guys. Hope you enjoyed the game, and please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to my channel. Thanks a lot for watching. This is Chess Novice signing out.